Hey everyone, welcome to Dad Casual, where full-time dads and casual gamers come together to discuss everything we love about the games we wish we had more time to play. Thanks for being here. If you would, please take a moment to follow and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and your podcast platform of choice, and maybe even leave us a review. And if you ever have any questions, topics, or thoughts, feel free to email us at dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And without further ado, this is Dad Casual. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 26. It's half a year of Dad Casual. It'll be a magical episode today as Andy and Preston have played a lot of Hogwarts Legacy now and can't wait to talk about it. Nintendo Direct game announcements including a shadow drop of a fan favorite classic and some early reviews for Wild Hearts out on February 16th. As usual, we have joining us today Andy Bond.
Hey.
Preston Jensen.
I am here.
And I am Houston Drugs.
Hey, that was like episode 2 throwback.
Yeah, we had a it wasn't 2, it was like maybe 12 or so. We had a fan request that I kind of keep that and kind of pepper it in.
Really?
Yeah, throughout the existence of the podcast. So today I'm Houston Drugs. I need some Sudafed right now. That's how the tie-in's going. I'm still sick and I need drugs.
I genuinely like the Ron Burgundy teleprompter pranking that we try to do. It's fun.
Absolutely. But hey guys, how you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. Drinking coffee at 9:50 at night, probably a bad idea.
Oh, good Lord.
But then you can play some more Hogwarts.
Yes.
I
need the magic.
Celebrate your Chiefs winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, come on.
The Chiefs and
the refs
won the Super Bowl.
Get out of here. Just a loser mentality, all of you.
It's coming from a guy that didn't even watch the game.
Uh-huh. Preston probably uses cheat codes in GTA. That's probably the only reason he likes it.
Infinite cash and big head motor bust.
Dude, those are some fun modes.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, guys. So, obviously, Super Bowl, Hogwarts Legacy, a lot of cool stuff going on in the entertainment world. But, have y'all actually even played anything else besides Hogwarts Legacy?
No, I haven't.
I have not.
And, I've watched TV and stuff. I watched the recent Last of Us episode.
Yeah, episode 5. Shout out.
It was killer. And it aired early on Friday, which was kind of nice. I think I liked that a little better, actually.
I did too, but that means we have to wait 9 days for the next episode.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. But it was a really, really good one, though.
Oh, so intense.
Yeah.
So
and no
intense.
spoilers here, for sure. We won't talk about
out
that
of the
too
tents,
much.
too.
Yeah. I think
Out
we could say
of the tents.
Small hint. They introduced a new enemy. It was really cool.
For a hot minute.
Minute, and it was one of the more intense scenes they've shown so far.
And I don't know if I'd call it a new enemy in the show as far as just a more fungal enemy. You know what I mean?
It was a scarier thing that happened.
Yeah. But it was cool. And it was the storytelling is just really good. And it really reminded me too of this moment in the game, the moment they show in the show, I was like, I don't think I'd ever seen that in a game before. It really reminded me of why that game was great. It's just been a long time since I've played through it, and Last of Us is just great, man.
That show keeps bringing the hits, man. I love it.
Bringing
such a good show.
Hits. So yeah, that the Super Bowl, and a lot of being a wizard.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a sec. For me, just real quick, I've been getting back on the horse with Yakuza Like a Dragon. I think I mentioned that last week, but that's been a lot of fun since I didn't buy Hogwarts Legacy yet, just because I don't know, just didn't want to spend the money right this second. But
sure,
I have so many games in my backlog that I actually need to play and finish. And Yakuza Like a Dragon was one that I really enjoyed, but just actually never finished because I started on PS4. And then when I got PS5, I got the PS5 version, but the saves didn't transfer. And so that kind of disheartened me a little bit. And I was like, I don't want to do the whole first 10 hours again that I've already completed. And it's like a 50-hour game. And so I'm finally gotten the courage back to kind of start back on that. And it's such a good game. I'll keep saying that. I really think that's a solid 8.5 for me.
That's one of those that, like, in the same way that you've talked that some of my games that I've suggested to you aren't maybe your cup of tea. I don't think it's my cup of tea, but I probably should try it first before I make that judgment.
Yeah.
It's just with, especially ever since we started the podcast, like I've been trying to keep up with the new games because I want to talk about it. I want to let people know like how they are. And so I have been, I wouldn't want to say the last 6 months to a year since we started in the summer of last year or into summer, I want to say. I don't know. I've just been playing all the new hits. And so it's been especially hard to go back through a backlog now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I will say this real quick about that game. For a JRPG, it's really fun because one, it's very like tongue-in-cheek funny. Mm-hmm. It's a little crass at times. I mean, there are some like curse words and stuff, but it's just like adult humor, like kind of like South Park style. And it's like just really goofy and fast-paced. And there also are like quick time events during the fighting, so it kind of keeps it more interesting. And there's an auto fight mode, which I really like too. So if you just like want to get through like some lower level enemies, you can kind of just blaze past it. So
that's cool.
That's my little shout out for Yakuza Like a Dragon again. But much more interesting game at this time of year, Hogwarts Legacy. Let's talk about it. So,
cool.
Preston, I want to hear your thoughts first. How much have you played? And yeah, just how much have you played, and what are your general thoughts about how far you've gotten so far, spoiler free?
Yeah, so I think I've gotten about 3% according to the little thing at the bottom.
Is that trophies, or is that like game percentage? Like just story?
I think it's like completion of story.
Completion of the main story, probably.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. So very minimal. I've probably played a total of like 5 to 8 hours. I don't know, somewhere in there.
It's still 3%. Good Lord.
There's a lot of side quests, and they might not be counting that stuff as like percentage completion.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but I'll tell you this: there's not a lot of complaints from me from this one. I was telling Andy the other night, I guess it was last night, I was saying the only complaint I really had was I'm so used to open world games like GTA and things like that, where you can just go around blasting people. And one of our friends and all of our coworkers at one point, Ashley Roner, shout out to Ashley.
Yeah, shout out.
I was talking to her about it, and I was like, I just want to blow things up. And she's like, Preston, Hogwarts has rules. I was like, fair enough.
This is true.
Fair
It's
enough.
not GTA. So question about the open worldness, like comparatively to, I know it's like you are in like Hogwarts, like that's kind of the whole point of it. But within those realms, like how big is it, or does it feel compared to say GTA 5?
So far, it's not much bigger, but I did see a part of the map because
I don't think Preston could answer that really yet because of where he is in the game.
Okay, that's
well, I'll
fair.
say this: Hogsmeade Village is a part of the game, and I just saw a big map, and I was like, "Whoa, okay."
So it's a pretty true open world game, you would say?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
I would argue it's massive. I would argue it almost has an Elden Ring moment where like you're like,
good
oh my
Lord.
God. I'm not saying it's that big, but I'm saying it has that moment where you're like, wow, this is a pretty big world. And then like you zoom out and you're like, oh my gosh.
Like, I have some work to do.
Yeah, there's a lot more, especially once you get your broom and you start like actually going south and and you're like, this just keeps going. Like it's a little almost overwhelming at one point. But Preston, we were talking about this earlier about how like maybe you can comment on this where at least where you are now about how like the game does a good job of not overwhelming you from the start though. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it was, and I don't know if I said this on the podcast last week. I wasn't sure how much I played, but I liked that it didn't just throw me into complete battles with these people that I didn't know how to do anything. I felt this game really, really, really explained how combat works.
Nice. You actually just listened to it. You said it felt like queuing at Universal Studios for like the Harry Potter world.
Yes.
Like everything was like very hand-holdy, but also very spectacular kind of right off the get-go. Yeah.
Yes. And now I'm getting to the point, I went into some room and fought some people without any spoilers. And there was more of them than there had been before, and I had to do everything without any instruction. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And it wasn't all right, where's this button? Where's this button? How do I do this? How do I get out of the way? Those kind of things. So I think for me, that has been a huge plus, because really the reason like God of War and things like that, like I left them, I was like, I just don't know what to do now. Like, I feel like I'm just, a fish out of water.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think especially with the new God of War, that's true, because like, I guess you've only played that 2018. I thought 2018 was okay at starting you slow, but it still is a lot going on. I think the great part about Hogwarts is that it's like we were talking, you asked about the open world, but it doesn't just throw you into that. You start in the castle, which, by the way, the castle is big enough at the beginning. Like, that might be one of my like first complaints, if I were to say, about the game. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a two-edged sword. It's like, it is a super maze. Like, there are so many corridors and hidden passageways, and they kind of limit you at the beginning because there's a spell called it's Alhamora. It's the one that opens locks. And there are a lot of doors that are locked, and you don't have that spell yet, so it like restricts you to where you can go at the beginning. So you like, but like, especially once you get that, there's just a million ways and back passageways and secrets, and but that's what makes it fun. That's what makes any open world game fun, I think, is that. And the castle is just this 3-dimensional, because like it can be confused. Sometimes I'm like, how do I even get to the classroom? And they need a mini map. That's one of the most frustrating things for me, is I'm like, how is there not a mini map?
Sure. Yeah. I got a few questions. So one, and this could be for either of y'all, how much like does it feel like you're a student at Hogwarts? Like you're going to class to like fulfill student duties?
I'll let you answer that, Preston.
Yeah, I would say it definitely, so far. I mean, it's basically all I've done.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I've run into problems, just like in the Harry Potter movies.
Sure. I didn't know like
I've
how much of it they would like just let you get acclimated to being a Hogwarts student and let you like live that fantasy for a sec before they ripped you out of it, kind of like a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
It's so without too much spoilers, I don't think this is a spoiler, that the game for the most part, like, it channels you through the classes more at the beginning of the game. And then, because at this point, like, it kind of feels like you're a student that like could skip class whenever he wants. Like, there have been moments where days have gone by and I haven't gone to any classes.
Okay.
Like, the sun has set and risen multiple times, and I'm like, I just don't care. Like, but major quests like begin and end by going to class. Like, you'll be like, okay, oh, the next major thing I'm doing begins with this class. I'm going to go to the class. But like, I haven't done a class twice yet. Like, I went to a potions class once, but I haven't done it again. And then actually, that's not true. I think there was another time I went to a class and it like showed you learning stuff, but you didn't actually like have to sit through the class or anything. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a moment. But like, the first time you go to every class, you do kind of learn a spell or do a thing, or it teaches you a mechanic. Like, there's a pretty complex system of between herbology and potion making, where like you grow the plants.
I just finished that.
Are the ingredients to then brew the potions. And some of the plants are items themselves you can use, but some of them are ingredients and potions. And then later, and you're not to this point, Preston, is you get an area of the castle, and they've announced this in plenty of trailers, where you get your kind of your own space. It's kind of like a magical space where you can like, if set up tables and like have all your plants going, and then you can come back. Like, there's a timer, like
the room of requirement.
Yeah, that's what it is. And so, and then you can like unlock bigger tables and different things. So like, now I have mine set up where if I leave and come back, like, I harvest a ton of stuff and I can fully stock up on my potions. Like, I really early in the game focused on that, and I was like, that's a really cool mechanic.
Nice. Cool. Well, I don't want to spend like too much time on this because like y'all haven't beat the game yet. Maybe we could do like a formal, like, give it a score when y'all beat it. But Andy, like, I want to get your general thoughts on everything besides gameplay, because I want to talk about that separately.
Sure.
And how long have you played?
I will say this. So what the game does best, the best things I would say, and we can go into gameplay, but combat is amazing. It really is fun. It's kind of got this rock, paper, scissors element, but you said you want to talk about that later. So I do think the gameplay itself, especially the combat, is amazing, but it I would say if you're playing the game, it kind of is slow to like doing a lot of combat. Like you don't fight that much in the beginning of the game. Like you're going to classes, you're learning things, you're doing other things. But later in the game, like combat is all the time. Like it becomes very common, as much as you want, honestly. And so I do think that's probably the strongest part of the game. I'd also say the overall just like production, like the music with it's not even the highest graphics. It just has this austere, like ghosts go through the walls and things are happening. The world feels very alive. Like you'll walk past a pair of suits of armor, and then behind me, because I got my 3D headset on, I'll hear someone fighting, and I'll turn around, and now the two suits of armor that were inanimate are duking it out and fighting each other, and one of them's beating the crap out of the other. I'm like, oh, what happened? Like, and it's funny that it waited till I passed to like do it. And it's like, they're just little things that if you're not paying attention, you miss. The spells all have a really cool like interaction. Students and teachers are having conversations that you can just walk past. But at the same time, the graphics aren't that. It's not, what am I trying to say? Like the sprites and the like, it has really cool, like a spectral look to the magic that's cartoony, but it's really, when you have conversations, the faces really just don't look that great. But then the dialogue is fantastic. I can't believe how good the voice acting is. And everything, like I forgive, it is not God of War graphics, but because of how spectacular the overall production is, it just feels so realized. Like this is, at the moment, the definitive Harry Potter game. If you like Harry Potter, you are gonna like, this is a must buy. And if you don't, if you're just like ho hum on it, I still think it's a buy. Like I think like you will like this game even if you're not like a super fan. I guess if you don't like Harry Potter, then I'd avoid it. But it just really is tremendous. If I were to say a negative impression is that there are times that the game has almost a Assassin's Creed vibe to it, where like in a bad way is what I mean by that. Of like sometimes the quests are fetch quests, and sometimes it's these like there are moments that aren't interesting or things that you're like I don't know. It just sometimes doesn't have its hooks on you, or when you're kind of doing in between stuff, or
are we saying that we need to petition to end fetch quests in video games once and for all? Because I feel like that's every review I ever hear of a game that has fetch quests. It's like, it's a complaint. Every single one.
I mean, it's filler is what it is. Granted, maybe that's a way to fully realize the world, is that like, that's not everything is epic in a real world. I don't know. Right. Is that what they're going for? Like, I'm not sure why, but there's just at times there's this kind of, I think as I kept playing, it's like I've started to fall in love with it more. So I don't feel as much like this, but I remember thinking like, I don't know, midweek last week, I was like, yeah, there are times that I'm like, it's kind of generic. But now that I've gotten farther, I'm just more and more into it. It just keeps getting better, especially the spells are what's fun. And then once you unlock a talent tree, there's a really pretty cool talent tree. And I actually love, personally, that you can't respec. And you can't get everything. So the talents you choose are going to be unique to you, and you're not going to be able to re-choose other things. So sorry if you make a mistake, you better be careful choosing things, but it kind of makes it cool. And so, man, I'm just having a blast.
Nice.
So I had never heard the term fetch quest till just now.
Do you know what we mean by it?
Yeah, I looked it up. But so my first thought when I kind of put it together, what you were meaning by that,
sure.
obviously. I think for me, I'm like exploring the world.
Yeah.
That's how I was like, okay, they're having me go across the map because they want me to see.
That's true.
Yeah.
The world.
And there's way more interesting narrative reasonings to do that other than just go pick these 3 flowers from across the map. It's like,
yeah, for sure.
There's so many different ways
that
you can kind of skin that cat for sure.
Could be done. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially if like I'm already innately like this world is interesting enough. I'm going to explore it.
Do you think the fetch quests, like say their flower thing, for instance, that you just said, Houston, since that isn't in the game, do you think you have the ability to do side quests while going on that fetch quest?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. So like,
Sure, sure.
There's, especially in the open world, like there's a million times when I'm like, I'm going to do this, but hey, while I'm on the way, I'll go ahead and do this. There's these thing called Merlin trials, and what is, well, and see, that's the thing though too, is that some of these don't feel avoidable. So for example, I'll give Merlin trials, for example. They are simple puzzles, not fetch quests, but they're very, very simple puzzles that are repetitive. They happen, you're doing the same one kind of quest again and again and again, which gets a little tedious, but you'd be like, oh, well, I'll just skip those. They're not interesting. But the reward is it increases your inventory space, which you run out of constantly. Right. And that's how the best way to make money at the moment is like sell your old gear that you're not going to use.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if it's full, everything you're picking up, you either can't pick up or you have to trash things and you can't make money. I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to go do this boring task, which feels like farming for 30 minutes so that I can increase my inventory space. And there's other things like that. Like there's other benefits like unlocking doors, for example. There's level 1, 2, and 3 locks. And if you want to unlock the level 2 and 3s, you have to do this side quest that's also kind of boring. Like it's just not that interesting. Yeah. And I'm like, I want the benefit, so I'm going to do them, but now it feels a little chore-like. And that's probably the best thing I mean by it's kind of Ubisoft Assassin's Creed, is I'm like, make those things either have trivial rewards or like, or make the unlock to do those abilities different, or make them talent based or level based. I don't know. There's multiple ways to skin it. I just don't want it. Sometimes it feels like a chore, but the main quests and like the combat, that's what's fun.
Yeah.
You can also levitate cats.
I haven't done that, and I saw Donkey do it, and I was like, "What?"
That seems like a necessity in any game.
But now I want to like levitate him and then launch him off the.
Oh no!
Off
You can't.
the castle.
You cannot launch them. So.
So let's talk about combat just for like 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes a person.
Sure.
Preston, I want to hear your thoughts on combat real quick.
So combat is so smooth, in my opinion. I think what you guys talked about with God of War and like bringing your whatever that thing is, sword,
the axe?
hammer, axe thing back to you, and it's like
So fun.
There's some cool triggers you can do, and I don't even know what it's called. Button
Combos.
That's the word. Combos to do some really cool stuff, whether it's levitating people, whatever it is.
So that you kind of get like creative with like how you chain the spells, and like one can lead to like you can cause an effect one into another kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
your spells, I didn't know this till today when Andy and I were talking. You can put them where you want for quick access. And that's all I'll say about that.
Like button mapping is what he means.
Cool. Yeah, that's a very useful system. So Andy, you might appreciate this more than Preston will, but from the few gameplay videos that I've seen, there is a little hint of like Arkham like fighting to it. Like it seems pretty like kind of like bouncing around, pretty fast paced, but like maybe also mixed with like almost like Warcraft, like because you're a spellcaster. So like you're kind of like back and you're throwing like bolts of magic at one another.
There was a moment when the combat first starts, because it starts simple, that I almost thought it was a little too simplistic at first, because I was like, okay, like they have this system, for example, at the beginning you learn 3 spells. You learn, and forgive me if I don't remember all the names, but you Leviosa, which is one of they categorize the spells by color, and they all are different things.
Sure.
Yellow is like crowd control. So like Leviosa lifts people up and they can't do anything while they're lifted. There's another yellow one that's a freeze spell with it's basically does the exact same thing in a different fashion. Then there are purple spells, which are movement based. So you can pull them towards you, push them back. You can move them around. And then there are red spells, which are damage, usually fireballs, or there's a short range one that only goes short. And so, like Preston said, like the combos, the way they work is cool because you can say like, okay, I'm going to levitate you, hit you 3 times with a basic hit. Then I'm going to pull you close to me and then blast you with my short range attack. And I could kill you in this like fancy combo. And that's a simple one in the beginning. But then as things go on, it gets a little more complicated. And for a moment there, it did feel a little bit like, I don't know, because you don't really have to aim. Like, you can target who you want to target, but it's not like a shooter. You're not aiming.
Yep. Which was kind of confusing at first.
Yeah, at first it was, but you can do R3 to target, and it does help things a little. But then, like, everyone can have shields where, like, they could have a yellow, red, or purple shield, and you do no damage to them unless you hit them with a spell of that color.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives this like counter, and that's kind of that complicates things a little further into the game. And then you have your own really good parry system where you can press triangle, but if someone right before they hit you, you press triangle, you can hit them back. Or if you hold triangle right before they hit you, not only do you block it, but you hit them with a stupendo and you stun them.
So there's a perfect parry system. Okay.
Yeah, and you can upgrade that later, and you can do other things that are really, really cool. And it kind of at one point it gets almost like a rhythm game because you're like, okay, purple. Oh, I got to do the yellow to the red to the block to the and then like there's definitely a system like God of War where someone comes in with a yellow attack, that means you can parry and block it. But if they come in with a red attack, you have to press circle to dodge. And so it does feel like pretty good, but sometimes you actually have to dodge instead of trying to parry, and you can screw that up. But it definitely, and then there's this really cool, very similar again to God of War, like if you see a barrel, you can press R1 to levitate it and hit that into someone. So there's environmental attacks too. So there's a lot going on as far as the combat goes. And then one of the best upgrades, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but there's a dodge that like makes your dodge like you zip across the battlefield as opposed to just doing a small roll.
So cool.
You know, like how they do that a lot in Harry Potter. Like the Dark Wizards will do that. They'll zip, like they become like a gas for a second and zip across and then like materialize. You can kind of do that, and once you start doing that, things get, because then I don't have to pull you close to do my short range attack. I can bolt in,
playing 40
hit you with
over
that,
here now.
and then bolt out. And if you watch some gameplay, some players are like really good at the combat, and I haven't even unlocked. I probably made half the moves, maybe. I don't even know. There's something like 16 to 20 spells that are combat, and then there's more than that are like utility, like like the light spell, Lumos, and the other ones like that. And so it is fun, and you're right. The parry plus the people right when they're about to hit you in the symbol above your head, that reminds me of Arkham. It's just, man, it is a good time, and I do think the enemy variety could be a bit more. Like, I'm kind of fighting one of 3 types of people. Like,
gotcha.
So far, at least, I could use a little bit more, but I have had 1 or 2 really good boss fights, and they were fun.
Yeah,
nice.
The boss fights are fun.
Very, very cool. And we can definitely talk about this more when we do like our formal, casual review, casual review.
Formal, casual.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to go into it, but there's customization. There's like a really good transmog system so that you can look however you want and not look stupid. Like,
nice.
There's so much to talk about.
Stupid.
Or look stupid.
Or, I have found that like, there's really only 3 options for the way you look, in my opinion. I can look like a student with my robe and my normal clothes. I can look like an adult, a businessman with a top hat, or I can look ridiculous.
Like a monster.
Those are the only, like I'm going to wear a suit of armor with a fairy helmet and just ridiculous. So it's still really fun. And I do like the variations on like, there's a million different robes with different stripes or different things, and your clothes under your robes you can customize, or hat or no hat or face mask or glasses.
So much customization.
Jeez.
The gear itself, as far as like being better than other gear, I can't comment on yet. It doesn't so far. I'm like, it's it doesn't feel better.
It just looks.
Well, I heard you.
I
heard you can make any piece of gear look like anything, pretty much. Like
You can,
so you
yeah.
can have the highest spec stuff look like the cheap stuff.
But that's what I mean. Like, I don't even feel a difference in the gear. Like, it doesn't make me feel more powerful. I just,
Gotcha.
I'm getting more gear, and then I'm keeping my look the way I want to look, and then that's it. Like, the gear is probably a lacking part of the game, but you still can look how you want, which, if you like fashion in games, you got it.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. So yeah, I definitely want to move on, but before we do that, before we do our like formal review, I have some homework. I want to know about the accessibility settings. I think that's something I want to start doing and like inquiring more, especially like with my family situation with my daughter, because one day she might be able to play games and play them with kind of some certain accessibility settings. And especially with this one, the one that came to mind was I want to know like the color blindness settings. If y'all could do some recon for me with especially with the combat the way it is, how like everybody like you can't beat this person unless you take down the purple shield first. It's like, well, what if I can't see purple? So
that's an interesting one. I don't know the answer to that. I'll look into the settings when I play maybe and see.
Yeah,
because you know what's one that I've wanted is there's like some hidden objectives where you're walking and you can do this thing called Revelio, and it like reveals where chests and things are, and you can see them through the walls. And they're different colors based on what they are. Well, there's hidden pages to like you have this like field guide, I think is what they call it. And they're everywhere. They're everywhere, but they're invisible unless you do it right in front of them. Well, when you do it, if there is one near you, it makes a sound in the direction, but it is like painfully hard to be like, which direction did that sound come from? And so like, I would love one that said like, you know how Fortnite can do the visual cues?
Yep.
For audio. I as someone who does not have an impairment to my hearing, I'm like, I would really appreciate that. I'm becoming a middle-aged father, and I need visual cues for audio.
Yeah, absolutely.
And subtitles.
But yeah, I'd appreciate if y'all could do that homework for me. If I can give you some video game homework.
I'll do it. The color one is interesting. I don't know. Maybe there's a symbol that goes with it.
Maybe so. Anyway,
we'll check it out.
Thank you. So moving on. At the Nintendo Direct last week, there's a lot of stuff that happened. So let's get into that.
So much.
So the first one on the list was probably one of the more exciting ones, is that we had a shadow drop for a video game, meaning that they announced it that day and it released during the presentation, which is so cool. And the one that released was a remaster of Metroid Prime. So I don't know.
There had been rumors for a while.
I think they announced that they were remaking it, but they didn't say when it was coming out. And there's also like, when is Metroid Prime? Was it 4? Is that the one that we've been waiting for like a decade for?
They had to completely restart development like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shadow Drop, super cool thing to happen. But there was, according to this article that you guys dropped for me, I'll just read it out here. So original Metroid Prime devs criticize remaster for omitting credits. This comes from gamesindustry.biz by James Batchelor. So I read this earlier. I'm flabbergasted at this name, Zoid Kirsch. Like, my name's weird. Houston Dragna is a weird name, but Zoid.
Wait, your name?
I don't think I've ever heard of anybody named Zoid, but I'm all here for it. And so Zoid Kirsch, shout out to you for having an amazing name.
Other than like Futurama, like Zoidberg. Yeah,
Zoidberg. But that's just such an apt name for a software engineer. So Zoid Kirsch, who is a senior engineer on the 2002 Nintendo title, Metroid Prime, shared via Twitter that rather than including full original game credits, it instead features the line, based on the work of Metroid Prime original Nintendo GameCube and Wii versions development staff. Kirsch acknowledged that many studios did amazing work, quote, on the remaster, but said he felt, quote, let down by this decision. Quote, I worked with so many amazing people on the game, and everyone's name should be included in the remaster, not just a single card like this, end quote. So yeah, I would tend to agree. Even if it's a remaster, if another studio kind of took it over and kind of added some new textures, polished it up, added some fresh audio, that there was still a crap ton of work that went into this game, and it looks really, really good. Not to say that even a not so good looking game shouldn't be credited. I think anybody that does creative work that has a reason to put their name on it should maintain their name on it.
Yeah, I am surprised. I mean, first off, I don't think it's like malicious. Like Nintendo just
No. Yeah.
it's like who cares? It's a couple more names on a credit list that's probably long and scrolling already. Like it's not a big deal. But for that same reason, they should do it. Like it's not a big deal. Their names should be on there.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah,
the
it should
least
be no problem.
like manual labor intensive part of the game, arguably. So,
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not very hard to like look up their names
and to type them out and put them scrolling.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, that stinks about that news, but I think I have never played the original Metroid Primes, and I want to. And so if I could find time, I would like to pick this one up because I think when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, I'd like to play it. I think it's cool that Nintendo's embracing not only the Metroid series, but dude, how cool is the shadow drops? Can we do more of that,
Yes.
please?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because it's always like we announce a game and then it's like, oh, it's going to be out in 2 years or at least
Yes.
6 months.
So frustrating.
Maybe we do an episode one day, or we should look up like a list of shadow dropped games and like the best ones. Because like I remember when Apex Legends was first announced, and that game like for a month took the world by storm, and like it's still pretty big now.
I mean,
like,
we had Wi-Fi Rush
yeah, that just happened. I
or
haven't
Hi-Fi Rush,
Rush.
not Wi-Fi.
Hi-Fi. I haven't played it. I need to.
It looks cool.
I played it. Yeah.
That's just such a cool thing, man. I want more.
Yeah.
So just to let you guys know, if you have a Switch, it is available today for $39.99 in digital and physical formats. So go get you some. I'm sorry. Physical is releasing later this month at some point. It doesn't have an exact date. But digital is available now. So go play some Metroid Prime.
Cool.
Yes. Then they had one about a little guy named Zelda.
A
little guy named Zelda. Yeah. So
He's a man, not a guy.
So we got another full trailer for Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, which I am personally very excited for. Which I think most of the Nintendo-loving gaming world is excited for, I would imagine.
For sure.
But we didn't really get much like new information. I mean, it did give like some more hints to like story beats and stuff, and some new enemy types.
Yeah. And he was doing a Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. He was driving that car.
He was. So they introduced a new mechanic where like a lot of these like not even modders, just people that are really good at the game would use the Magnesis rune in the first game to make like vehicles essentially. And they just straight up just added a vehicle mechanic in this game, which is
you know
so
what?
cool.
I'm not. Just do it. Like, come on. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So, we got some more hints at like this version of Ganon, or is it even Ganon? It looks like Ganon.
Yeah, but the voice that's the crazy part, because people were saying like this is the first time Ganon ever has had a voice
Like
in a game.
like a speaking line.
If that was
Right.
his voice, which is unclear, it could just be a crazy narrator. I don't know. That would be weird. But I thought it was. I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
I thought that
because
was cool.
Breath of the Wild was the first game that Zelda had a speaking line in. It's the first time they put an actual voice to her, I think, as well. So
Other than I suppose both of them had a voice in the old show, the Zelda show.
nope, doesn't count.
We're not talking about that.
That's like the animated Mario thing that they just came out with that trailer for, which is hilarious. But did y'all see that? The plumbers trailer for there was like a callback to the original. For the Super
Mario Brothers.
Yeah, for the new movie, they did a callback to the original animated Mario movie, Mario series, where they like did an advertisement as plumbers.
What?
Yeah, it's hilarious. Go check it out.
So random.
More information about Tears of the Kingdom. That should be out May 12th. I don't think there's a whole lot more to say about that unless you guys had some more thoughts, but this will be a $70 Nintendo Switch game, which I think is a first.
Wait, is that confirmed?
Yeah. The release date's been out for a little while, even before this trailer.
$70?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yep. $70 Switch game. Getting with the times.
Switch game. Dang.
Yep.
This Super Mario Brothers trailer is amazing.
Oh, you're watching it right now?
The song is so good.
That's the rap
Yeah,
one?
they're rapping, aren't they?
Was it? It must have been at the Super Bowl and I missed it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that dropped at the Super Bowl.
That's
man.
incredible.
But speaking of more shadow dropped material, we have finally to the Nintendo Online Store Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games on the Nintendo
Yes.
Switch. Isn't that
pretty
cool?
cool.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, and there are so many games on that list that it's kind of short, to be honest, at the moment. But man, sky's the limit.
Yeah, same thing with all the other systems.
Cool.
Like they kind of cherry pick some of the best ones and just put them on there. So right now, I didn't make this list, so if it's wrong, blame Andy and Preston. But right now, confirmed, we have Zelda: The Minish Cap, or The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. Super Mario Brothers 3, which that's one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah. Mario Kart Super Circuit, amazing game. Mario and Luigi Super Saga. WarioWare Inc., another amazing game. Metroid Fusion, Fire Emblem. Is that like OG Fire Emblem? Is that correct?
OG, yeah, the first one.
Nice. F-Zero, Maximum Velocity, Golden Sun, and a few more. So that's also exciting.
I believe a few on that list, for clarity too, did say coming soon. So, but the first half, I think all the way through WarioWare, were out today.
Nice.
So some are coming soon, but it shouldn't take them too long.
I want to see all of the original Pokemons through Silver and Gold. Like the first 5 games.
There was Pokemon the trading card game RPG.
Oh, I did see that. Okay. I actually played that one back in the day.
So did I. I loved it. Because like one of the problems with Pokemon when I was a kid was like I collected them, but I never I just never battled. It was only trading. And I always wanted to play the game. Well, the Game Boy game allowed it.
Nice. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I had a blast with that one. I actually did play the trading card game too. And I have none of my cards anymore, so I'm not rich. So sadness.
You're not wearing a golden Charizard.
I'm not wearing a golden, what's it called, like B10 grade Charizard that's worth $1 million on my neck. Shout out Jake Paul.
I think it was like $55 million or something crazy.
Oh, maybe now. But anyway, another game that got announced was Disney Illusion Island. I don't really know anything about this one, but Preston, talk to us about it.
So it looks to me, I don't know if y'all played, it wasn't super hot. It was, what's that racing game we played, Andy?
Speed Runners.
Speed Runners. Yes. That's kind of what it looked like, part of it. But also it just looks like a fun multiplayer side scroller.
Yeah, side scrolling platformer for sure.
Yeah. I
think you're working as a team. I think there might be competitive elements, but
I did see this one previously. This wasn't the first time they announced it.
No, they just showed more and they went into detail on the gameplay a little bit more, but that was it.
So I'm not sure if it's strictly multiplayer.
No, I think you can play single player. You have the option to do 4-player co-op on the same console.
Gotcha.
Or whatever. Or online.
It looked interesting, like some of the levels they had. I was like, how are you going to beat that single player? But I don't know. It'll be cool to see, and I love the graphics.
Oh, they kind of it's new art for the Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald gang.
Yeah, it's the same. There's a show that it's based on. I forget what it's called. It to me almost has like if Mickey Mouse had a Ren and Stimpy like art style. It's a little weird.
It's like little thin, wispy outlines. It's a little bit more like rough and tumble look to them.
Yeah, isn't it the same as Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Mine Train or Runaway Railway at Disney World?
Okay.
The show, it's a Disney Plus show. It's called The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. You can look up that. It's a whole show. But like, to be honest, it's funny when people change an art style is that like adults will like hate it, but then kids are now growing up with that art style and start to love it. Like it's just generational changes to styles and the way things are animated. It's just the way it is. But yeah, the game actually looks really fun.
It looks like a blast. And I think that's coming out in July.
Nice.
Yes, July 28th.
So yeah, it's like a side-scrolling 2D platformer, but multiplayer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So Andy, talk to me about Have a Nice Death, also announced.
So I don't know if you guys have pulled up that trailer at all. It is a very cool looking. So they showed it at the Game Awards 2 years ago, and they did it back in I think November at a different Nintendo, and then they showed a little bit more in this recent one. But if you watch it, it 100% has Hollow Knight vibes. It's
Hollow Knight meets Cuphead.
Yeah,
that's what it reminds me of.
But the animation has these cutscenes that are super slick. And it just, I like that it looks like there's more moves and different things you can do. It just, man, it looks so fun, and I love you play the Grim Reaper, and I'm like, it just looks awesome.
It has like a Limbo vibe, but like way happier, but like also dark at the same time.
The animation is super polished. I love it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm seeing all the promo material for it. Looks really, really cool. I'm definitely not a Hollow Knight style Metroidvania fan. Just gameplay wise, because I'm not very good at video games, even though I like video games. But looks cool.
Yeah. Well, I will probably play that because it comes out very soon on March 8th.
Yep.
Nice. That is very soon.
And our indie episode, I didn't even talk about that. I'm like, it's crazy how much research I did during for that episode. And I'm like, did I miss this game? I'm so confused.
Many games coming out. It's a good thing. It's a good problem.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. And in the absence of Hollow Knight Silksong, I would love a game like that.
Yeah, do we have a release date for that one yet?
We have no release date. We know nothing about it. We do know it's coming to Game Pass, though, so I won't have to pay for it.
Nice.
Other than, you got to pay a subscription.
It softens the blow a little bit, I guess. Speaking of new games, we have a new one called Wild Hearts that drops in, as the time of recording, February 16th. So today's the 13th, so in 3 days. I watched...
By the time this posts.
Yeah, by the time this posts.
It'll be out.
Definitely. So I actually watched Kind of Funny today on Twitch stream a little bit of this. But we already have some reviews. I think the review embargo is lifted. And so we have a Polygon review here. And I'll just go ahead and read it because I don't know a ton about the game. But Diego Nicolas Arguello, if I pronounced that wrong, forgive me, says... Wild Hearts combines Monster Hunter and Death Stranding into one excellent RPG. That's a wild sentence to say. Building in Wild Hearts is nothing if not practical. You stack crates to make walls, combine torch-bearing columns into firework cannons, and pile jumping pads on top of one another to summon bouncing hammers. None of these contraptions take more than a few seconds to shape into existence, and more often than not, they can be the difference between life and death during particularly dangerous monster hunts. So it sounds like Monster Hunter plus Fortnite as well, because you can build stuff.
So wild.
It goes on to say Wild Hearts is part of a modern wave of monster hunting titles aimed at a quality of life changes and streamlined tutorials ease me into its complex cobweb of materials, mechanics, and statuses. Once it began sparring with some of the more grandiose champions of its roster, it became clear how Wild Hearts was adding to the foundation set by its forebears. I just didn't expect a Fortnite-esque building mechanic to be at the center of the reinvention.
Me either.
So
wow.
That's really cool. And from the gameplay that I saw from like Andy Cortez and Blessing and all those guys at Kind of Funny, it looks like Monster Hunter with a fresh coat of paint with those crazy Fortnite mechanics. But then like maybe like a little bit of like Apex Legends like action thrown into it. Like it's like very fast paced. Like Monster Hunter is a little slow, and like that's kind of part of the charm of it. It's like it's more of a technical fighter Monster Hunter game. But this one seems a bit more like encouraging for like a larger health bar on the monsters, and it takes a little while, but you can move a lot faster. You can do bigger hits, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's cool that to see somebody else in this space doing it as well, seemingly, as what Monster Hunter has done for years. And I'm a self-proclaimed Monster Hunter fan. I played a few of the games on several systems, and I really enjoy it. So this one piques my interest a lot. But again, trying to be frugal right now, so I may not be able to pick it up in 3 days.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have to say this. I looked it up, and I was like, this game looks really cool. I'm not seeing what Houston's seeing. And I was like, let me read the description. So it said, Wild Hearts is a dreamy arcade game about riding motorcycles, skateboarding, dance battling, shooting lasers, wielding swords, and breaking hearts at 200 miles per hour.
That doesn't sound like the same game.
And I was like, what am I missing
Are you
here?
talking about Sayonara Wild Heart?
Yep.
I've played
When
that.
I looked up Wild Hearts Nintendo Switch, that is what came up.
Yeah, Sayonara Wild Heart is also on Apple Arcade, and that's where I played it, and it's really fun.
Nice, but separate game.
It's
Separate game.
It's a
Out-
rhythm
and
game.
then Andy just sent us the actual trailer, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
definitely a different game.
And this one's
This is more of gameplay, but yeah.
yeah.
and this one's only going to be on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. at launch.
Gotcha.
Something that I'm liking about it is, as opposed to Monster Hunter, is Monster Hunter sometimes had a ragdoll physics vibe to it at times. Like I felt like you would just get like knocked around or whatever. Like, I don't know. And the building, I don't know if I would call it, from what I'm looking at, maybe there's more. I wouldn't call it quite Fortnite. It's not like every wall you have to do it. Like, it looks like a one button trigger and you build a full wall in front of you. You know what I mean? Or something like, or a one button thing, you put a cannon in front of you, or different things. And so maybe it's not as bad. It does look interesting. It definitely has a Monster Hunter vibe though when you watch it.
Oh yeah, it's like it's a Monster Hunter clone with extra stuff. It seems,
but it looks pretty cool, and it's definitely JRPG. But man, it looks fun.
From what I saw, it seemed very well polished. Like, and I think Andy Cortez was saying, like, as it stands right now, as I'm playing the demo or the early release, it's like he would give it like a 4 out of 5, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I don't think it's my kind of game, but it's the kind of thing that I would maybe dabble in.
It looks a lot more fun with friends to do like co-op missions and stuff. Same with Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is a lot more fun in co-op because that's the whole point. It's like two little humans like taking down giant dragons, which is, I think, a really cool concept. But yeah, I'm super excited about that one. We'll see how like the rest of the reviews go. And did this review have there's a link to it. Did they give a number for it, or they just?
No, I don't think I'm not sure if Polygon does.
Okay, well, cool. Let's
that's a good point. Actually, I wonder if there's a Metacritic. Let me just do a quick search.
I'm doing the same thing. Doing it live. Wild Hearts for PS5. No score yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll wait till Friday.
They're just in progress and unscored at the moment, including all the major publications.
Yeah, they must not have given a whole lot of heads up on the early release copies for review. But cool. Yeah, we'll definitely check back in on that maybe next episode and see how it's doing.
Yeah.
But I believe that is all of the news that we have today. A little ahead of schedule. So maybe we can jump into a little bit of dad talk, kind of check in, see what the highs and low parts of this past week have been for you guys, and just kind of like, how's it going?
It's good, man. I'm full swing of things. We've really been shaking it up and trying to tidy the house more and clean. And like Michelle and I think we started to feel stressed, and like there's obviously life that adds stress, but like if also your house is unorganized and your finances are unorganized, that only like multiplies the stress. And so we've been trying to like get some things right at the base level, and it really has been helping. And I don't know, I think we've been able to spend more time with the kids and enjoy like movie nights and stuff. And Noah just started basketball, and he's just the smallest little player. And sports are starting to get pretty fun. Like when they're toddlers, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, good job, buddy. You touched the ball. Like everything, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets gummy bears at the end of the game. I don't know. But like Noah now, it's like finally competitive, and his coach is kind of tough on him, but like he really wants to do well, and like it's kind of awesome.
That's so cool.
Very cool. I remember my like, for lack of a better term, like pee-wee basketball days. Very fun. I was absolutely terrible.
Well, for the record, he also, I think sports, I don't know how long it'll be, but like he really wants to play drums and play music, like be a musician too. And he has all the dreams that he wants to be. So we'll see.
Nice. Let him do everything. Let him figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we are kind of saying like, I can't afford to do everything. So one at a time.
Yeah, sure.
And pick your favorite and stick with it.
Yeah.
Like pick your favorite kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Just stick with them. Get rid of the rest.
Makes sense.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Suffer with a bunch of people I don't like? I'm just kidding.
Oh, amazing. Preston, what's been a high point for you this week, man?
Oh man, so it's because of a low point, which I'm going to go with the low point first. We had to go to a funeral for a younger family member, and that wasn't fun. So that was the low point for us this week. But the high point was Rhett didn't have to go, and he got to stay at his grandparents for 3 days. So
Nice.
we were a little nervous about that, Last time he stayed overnight, he woke up at like 3 a.m. and didn't go back to sleep.
Oh, no.
And so we were nervous, but I prepped him all week. He was excited. Mimi was going to pick him up from school. I had a present for each night in his overnight bag. When I say present, it was like Hot Wheels. So he was super pumped, and he didn't want to leave when we came home.
Nice. So that was the longest he stayed away from you guys so far?
Yeah. Yeah. And there was one day his grandparents they called when I was running an errand. And so I didn't see him all day. And there's never been a day I haven't seen him, even if it's on FaceTime or, and I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So
Yeah. It's fun
even when we were on our cruise out in the middle of nowhere, I made it a point to figure out how to FaceTime or whatever. But yeah, so he did really well. And he actually went to a new school today to get tested, to get into a different school. We have some options coming up. So, and he did really good with that. So he's learning and we're learning. As long as we can prepare for things, not always an option, obviously, but when we are able to prepare for things, it makes everyone's life easier by setting those expectations.
For sure. That's a good little tip. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that you did the little tiny presents, because like Hot Wheels are like 25 cents or 50 cents.
They're nothing.
And like you can get those at the dollar store in a 3-pack and boom, 3 presents. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of cool.
Yep.
Nice. That's smart.
What about
smart
you?
Parenting hack. So high point. My daughter is getting her first custom built and sized wheelchair this week, actually tomorrow.
What?
So this bunch, but if this is your first time listening, my daughter has spina bifida. She is 3, going on 4 this summer. And she currently doesn't walk, but we're just kind of like learning how to let her be her own person in the wheelchairs, but a pretty huge step in that. So my wife has been kind of like tirelessly researching, doing more of the heavy lifting with that. Yes, she's been doing all of the heavy lifting with that, and I haven't done anything, which I feel really bad. But I want to learn more about it. And tomorrow she gets her custom butter yellow, super pretty, shiny wheelchair that we're going to like trick out and get some like custom wheel covers and stuff. And it should fit her better. She has like a practice one right now. But this one is going to be a lot more comfortable for her to get around quicker.
That's awesome.
That's going to be really, really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, definitely. We're all kind of getting over sickness. I think I mentioned that last week. So that's kind of been just kind of like a bummer. Just, kind of just ruined your whole week if you're sick for a little bit. So low energy and the house is a mess and all that kind of stuff. And nobody wants to do anything. So, but we're on the mend. I think Josephine's feeling better now. And then Kristen's pretty much done. And I'm just on the tail end of mine. So, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep. But yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. Unless you guys had anything else to talk about, but if not, we will say goodbye and good night to you guys. Anybody that's listening, thank you so much, listeners, for being a part of the first half of a year of Dad Casual. It still feels weird to say 26 episodes, 6 months. So thank you so much for that.
And we've actually posted every week too, for the most part. Sometimes we're not perfect, but thank you guys for sticking with us.
A little bit of holiday, mispostings and stuff. Not mispostings, just like delayed postings and stuff. But we've had an episode. We have 26 actual episodes that you can go back and listen to. So that's like 30 plus hours worth of content, I think, at this point, which is really cool. That's really exciting to kind of say out loud.
Look back on, yeah.
But yeah, we're looking to expand and to keep doing this and to get more listeners. So feel free to share. And we encourage you to share to anybody that is a dad, is a gamer, that just you think might enjoy our conversations and antics, that friends, family, whoever needs to kill an hour with a podcast, please share this to them. Maybe they'll like it. Maybe they can share it to somebody else. And if you have any questions that you want to ask us or just any topics that you want to hear us talk about more, feel free to reach out at dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. We'd be more than happy and excited to answer those questions and talk to you through that. You can always also hit us up on Twitter, on Instagram, through our socials. And yeah, I think that's it. So we're going to sign off. So thank you guys so much. See you later.
Peace.
Bye.